Once more, it is time for the meat grinder that is the YouTuber League weekly recap. So get yourselves ready, for you don't want to move from that seat. Welcome back, everyone. Round 9 has finally concluded, and with it more games for us to witness and relish at the amount of violence to come. It's no wonder why everyone loves Blood Bowl, isn't it? Mindless bloodshed in its most truest form. So without further ado, let's get started with the recap.
Level 3 Goblin? With strength up? What the hell is that nonsense?
You think that's crazy? You should. I've almost got another double, and I would have had a block on him.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, it would have been, but you know my luck. My luck's been absolutely horrendous.
Starting off our week, as always, is Omega Eta Alpha going up against the Jailhouse Rockers, and with how slowly battered the Skaven team has been getting, facing a pair of mummies is going to be a terrifying prospect for them. However, with Dribblesnot once more aiding the team, you can never count them out, provided he actually cooperates for the team. Which early on he starts proving his worth, as he breaks up the undead cage to allow for a fairly early sack.
I was about to say, don't tell me he's gonna get it.
That would have been great.
Time for insanity.
It's possible.
He got it!
Works!
With Juvenile finally getting some essential support for a change, he makes miracles happen, as he dives through the Omega's line to steal a ball from right under their no longer functioning noses. Fearing his demise, however, he hurls the ball away in an attempt to save his hide. But this only serves to annoy the Necromancer coach, as the slaughtering of the Rockers commences. Reclaiming the ball shortly afterwards, and taking out Juvenile in the process, everything was going the undead's way, until First Degree returned the eye for an eye by ending Ogre's career. While a crippling blow to the team, Omega Alpha continued pushing forward uncontested, forcing Black Templar to pull out his trump card.
You always have that fireball right there.
Surprise!
It's not that big a surprise, to be honest.
Knockout!
Kind of to be expected, actually.
Oof. That's 2.
Yep.
Well,
I'm fine with that. Yeah, that's just fine, though.
Providing another window on the ball, they dive in on the ghoul, although the resulting gambit costs one of their line rats their lives, giving Omega Alpha the opening they needed to make a breakaway.
Yes. I got one, reroll left. Makes the throw.
you
Makes the
fluky
catch. Bones Malone.
Fluky git.
Walk this way.
How fluky can you get?
Thanks to blackmail speed, he sacks down Bones Malone before he could score the essential touchdown. But unfortunately, this would only delay the inevitable, as with the damage inflicted, Omega Eta Alpha would take the 0-1 lead going into the second half. Down to 8 players for next kickoff, a miracle may be required for the Jailhouse Rockers to at least tie up the game. But the coach has another trick up his sleeve to try and make that happen.
I wanted to pass to the troll, to be honest.
Yeah. Would have been funny.
Well, can you let me do that? At least this half, then you can just beat the crap out of it.
Try to pass to the ogre, the troll. That'd be funny.
Yeah. Can you let me do that at least once? Then you can just beat the crap out of it. Because I'm not going to beat you.
Sure, I'll let you make a pass to the troll.
Right.
Still gonna hurt the rest of your players, though.
Pretty much.
Daring another ruse of just instantly passing to the ever unreliable troll, the Rockers are able to sneak their way past the line of scrimmage. And with First Degree's current training of handling the ball so far, a glimmer of hope sparks in the otherwise secluded rats.
Quick pass. This is where sanity begins. Successfully.
Makes the
He
pass.
caught it.
Makes the catch.
Now can he
Does it?
Now can he score? That's the question.
That hope was immediately denied with a quick sack of the ball as the brawl began, leaving the Rockers cornered along the edge of the field. Juvenile tried once more to carry the team, with only his own ambition being his undoing as he leaves the rest of the team to fend for themselves. With only 2 players able to reach the ball, desperation was really all the Rats needed, as somehow, through Nuffle's graces, they managed to make it through the match with a tie game, at the cost of 2 line rats who would have to be replaced. For our next match, for which no recording was made for the game, would be How Not to Contain Lizards going up against the Bright Wings. The results, however, would be surprising, for the match ended up as a tie between the 2 teams, with hardly any blood spilled to entertain the crowd present. Now, it is time to move on to our most anticipated match of the week, as the Fluffy Green go up against the Reichland All Elite in a good old-fashioned match of Orcs versus Humans. This is also an incredibly unique match, for both teams invested in inducements going into this game, with the Orcs hiring the Chainsaw Maniac Urok, while Reichland responded in kind by hiring a wizard to give us an extra helping of charred and shredded players. With a perfect defense by Fluffy Green to respond to Reichland's aggressive positioning, the game immediately became a massive fight on the line of scrimmage, with nearly everyone, catcher included, taking a part. Reichland ended up scoring first blood in this brawl in the most unlikely of forms, as Jungle Boy gives Mr. Socks a deadly left hook, taking the Orc's most valuable player out for a match. Even without the violent Orc, it isn't long after that Fluffy Green starts to push into the backfields as they press on Bryan Danielson, casting aside CM Punk in the process to help even the odds. Managing to dodge the first blow, Danielson quickly throws the ball up the field, only for Jungle Boy to be completely surrounded by very unpleasant looking Fluffy Orcs, which only ends in one result as the human team gets swarmed and pummeled to a pulp before dislodging the ball from the catcher's hands. Reichland makes desperate plays to get away with the ball once more, but with the mounting injuries, their ability to hold the green tide eventually fails them, as the agile Mr. Snouts manages to help secure the last-minute touchdown, giving the Orcs a tremendous lead going into the second half. Still 11 players strong, and CM Punk returning to the field, the All Elite were back in fighting form for the next kickoff. But now being stuck on the defensive, they will need to pull out all the stops if they want to have a chance to even up the score. With a perfect defense of their own, they start off strong, even deflecting Urof's chainsaw back at the star player, opening a window for the human team to do what they do best as they swarm the Orc side of the field. Fluffy Green were able to recover from this awkward position as they improvise a makeshift screen for their desperate pass. But where the Orcs had shown their dominance in the first half with their strength, the humans were showing theirs through their agility and speed. They were always on the ball, no matter what the Orcs did, and eventually their tenacity pays off as they finally sack the ball down from Mr. Snout, allowing CM Punk a window to grab the ball, bringing the All Elite back in the game with a 1-1 tie. Still, with plenty of time in the half to determine a winner, Reichland get another opportunity to rush down into the Orc side of the field, and once more the Orcs aim to screen off the invading players from the ball. But with the mounting casualties from the half so far, Reichland's momentum faded as additional players were removed from the field, leaving these two adversaries at a tie game, hopefully heralding an exciting match to come in the future should they meet in the playoffs. Moving on to our next Bash Fest, we have the Leglickers going up against the Greatest Cage in a very unique match in which both teams have gone with the decision to hire a wizard for this game, causing a great deal of disturbance from the winds and magic being generated upon the field as a result, disrupting traditional Cabal cameras that were present. This match also signals the return of the Amazons' coach Caveman, as they start off very aggressively, utilizing their wizard immediately. The all-in strategy threatens to backfire on the ladies as the match progresses, for the Cage were getting the better end of the casualties, having already spent their apothecary to revive Blitzer and Fistor from the otherwise fatal injury. But the Leglickers were able to give back as much as they were being dealt, thanks to the timely removal of Gone in 60 Seconds and the Family Man, evening up the playing field greatly for the ladies of Lustria. But anything can happen when both teams are armed with a wizard, and when a failed pass fumbles the ball, the Greatest Cage aim to take full advantage of their good fortune. A massacre on the field was about to occur as the fireball crippled the ladies' lines, but undeterred by the dwindling numbers, they still managed to get the ball up the field to score that illustrious first touchdown. The violence wasn't about to end for the first half though, for with time to spare, the Cage returned the favor to the ladies as they quickly tied up the game for the second half. With all the blood and violence of the first half, the Necromantics somehow were one player down to the Amazons for the next kickoff, and with Gone in 60 Seconds knocked out for the drive, their power and mobility is greatly hindered as well. Early removals helps to even the odds, but with the dodging prowess of the ladies, the Cage were rapidly bogged down as they got surrounded on all fronts. There was glimmers of hope for the Necromantic as they slowly removed the prize blitzers off the field, but it wasn't enough, as the Amazons eventually will pry the ball from the zombies' hands to secure a 2-1 victory for the match, but at a very steep price.
This is the same so far.
Yep. This time I'm actually going to use my kick piece.
We have both taken lessons from the shit show that was our last game.
Last attempted game.
Yeah.
Where's the... There he is.
Continuing with the brawling on all fronts, we have now the Cursed Suffering going up against the Nuclear Winters, as we get a glorious brawl on the pitch, one not normally expected of the elves, for after working their way to getting the blitz on the Hobgoblin runner, both teams were forced into a full-on fight when the ball conveniently lands in the middle of both teams. Somehow miraculously, both sides were able to get their players back up, if only to knock the other team down in their stead.
Oh boy, here we go. Oh boy, here we go.
He's gonna catch it! He's gonna catch it! Oh, he's gonna catch it too! Hey, he got it!
Yeah, unfortunately for you, he's also in a really bad spot.
Well, I mean, maybe.
Even the notorious elven bullshit was not present for this half, as they were not able to escape with the ball, try as they might. And it resulted in the entire half being spent just bashing the other team without an actual touchdown, which is a game any Blood Bowl fan would truly want. And for the second half, I am happy to tell you that once the kickoff begins, we get a lot more brawling on the pitch, for even on the Dark Elves' offensive drive, the rivalry between dwarves and elves threatened to take the whole stadium down. Both teams continued to stubbornly stay on the pitch, with the elves attempting to gain some ground forward, but with their bloodlust overwhelming them, they almost forgot that they were playing a game of Blood Bowl, and it wasn't until the final minutes of this constant brawling before Elsa made her breakaway to give the Nuclear Winters the victory at 0-1.
Gotta just do it.
Yeah! You failed one dodge this whole game.
I haven't dodged a lot this whole game.
You've dodged enough. Then
Your
again,
full centaurs have
I was
dodged
just
a
gonna
lot
say,
more than
I
my
haven't
elves.
failed any dodges either, but...
Obviously more skilled than the other. It's going to be
Yay! We're saved.
hard. It's hard to imagine a more asymmetrical team than this one, Bob. Do you understand that word?
You can kiss my asymmetrical. I'd even say it's the most asymmetrical thing I've ever seen.
So you really don't know what that word means, do you?
Moving on now, we have the large legends going up against the mini Sons of Anarchy, putting the ogres in the position of having to deal with the might of JT and his Death Roller. With the dwarves getting the first offensive drive, he happily runs over ogre and snotling alike, if the troll slayers are not beating him to the punch, that is. It was very much a massacre on the field, with the snotlings dropping off the pitch rapidly, and while large legends were able to keep the pressure on the dwarven runner, JT made certain that they got their touchdown for the first half, thanks to his break tackling skills intercepting any ogre that came close, giving the dwarves a 0-1 lead going into the second half. Down to 9 players, and plenty of crippled snotlings already for the large legends, the match only continues to go downhill for them. Even without having to deal with JT, the stubbornness of the dwarves would not see them being outdone by the giants. It was a bloodless half, but the Sons of Anarchy kept the ogres in their place, stealing the ball from them before ending off the match to a sweeping 0-2 victory. Just when you thought we were done with the bloody violence, we move on to our next match as the Outworn Ideas go up against the godlike Puns. With the Norse missing their Yeti for this match, there are no easy ways for them to take out the threat that is 4 towering tomb guards, which prompts Malt to play a very aggressive formation in the hopes of dealing with the threat immediately. But with how predictable the strategy was, Outworn counterattacked with a blitz, stopping their offensive drive dead in its tracks. It continues to go downhill for the Puns as a complete massacre occurs on the pitch, allowing for an easy sack of the ball and score for our normally sluggish team. Down one of their strongest players already in terrific Doggy, the Puns were already stuck on the back foot, and this was made even worse with the Outworn once again predicting their play, as they respond with a perfect defense. Despite their attempts to fight the undead, there was little option but to make a long pass down to Mars COVID-19 in the hopes he can make a breakaway to score. Smoking Health Benefits tries desperately to keep pace with the lineman, but his slower speed got the best of him, as the Puns were able to stay in the game with a 1-1 tie going into the second half. Down 3 players to the untouched Khemri, the godlike Puns may have managed to tie the game so far, but this was on their offensive drive. Now that the ball is being kicked to Khemri's side of the field, they could do nothing but take the onslaught coming their way. Many attempts were made to gain some momentum, but with the early removal of players compounding the Norsemen's disadvantage, it ultimately meant the Khemri would pull ahead with a 2-1 lead. Needing an intervention of some kind in hopes of securing the tie now, they get exactly that, as their fans charge the pitch to help even the odds. With one last desperate attempt, barely Odin on made one more long pass down the field, but with the play foiled by fumbling the ball and the American Dream running to intercept, the Norse would suffer their second loss of the season in a surprising upset for the Outworn Ideas. And for our final match of the week, the fragile Bloodmarks are going up against the Bouncing Warriors, and it's suffice to say that the Elves came out on top. However, the match was relatively lacking in blood, with only a single injury to both sides. And while the Bloodmarks struggled slightly in the second half, their victory was ultimately sealed as they win the match 2-0. That brings us to the end of the recap, with our top 3 spots taking a very interesting turn, in that now, the Reichland All Elite and the Leg Lickers are both tied for first place, with 6 wins and 1 tie. Not only that, our third place spot is also tied between the Godlike Puns and How Not to Contain Lizards at 5 wins and 2 ties each. With the other team slowly gaining ground on them though, could this be the final week where our top teams are finally taken down as we move on to round 10 of the season with, you guessed it, Omega Eta Alpha as they face off against Fluffy Green. The Orcs are becoming a team to be feared, and while 2 mummies on the field should terrify even the most brutish of Black Orcs, the Undead team currently has no wins in the season so far, and it seems very unlikely it'll happen this week. But there will still be plenty of players getting bashed to the ground to enjoy watching. Match 2 is the Leg Lickers versus How Not to Contain Lizards, as we get an unusual match with 3 of the swords having dodge for their skill sets, meaning both teams are almost completely full of players who are difficult to pin and knock down. However, it also means that the Lizards are lacking many of the key skills they will need, so how this match plays out is anyone's guess. Match 3 is the Cursed Suffering versus the Jailhouse Rockers. With 2 rats in need of being replaced after their last game, the Rockers are likely going to suffer horribly should the dwarves get their hands on the goblins. But this hasn't stopped their coach from trying to secure victory through unconventional means. It will still, regardless, be a slaughter. Match 4 is the Large Legends versus the Bright Wings. With the extra armor the High Elves have over most Elven teams, they may actually end up surviving this match, especially with the brand new Ogre team still lacking the skills to bolster their already imposing roster. Match 5 is the Outworn Ideas versus the Reichland All Elite. It is very likely Reichland is going to run circles around the Outworn, and with the number of guard available to the team, striking at the gaps in their formation shouldn't be difficult. But if those Tomb Guards have full control of the center field, this will be easier said than done. Match 6 is the Fragile Bloodmarks versus the Greatest Cage, and while a Strength 4 Werewolf and Strength 5 Flesh Golem is terrifying, with the Cage having no mighty blow at all on the team, the Bloodmarks could very well make it out of this game completely unscathed, which would certainly be a first for them, considering how fragile these elves are. Match 7 is the Bouncing Warriors versus Nuclear Winters, and much like last week, I don't expect much from the Kislev team when facing off against elves. It's only a question of how badly they will lose in this upcoming game. Finally, Match 8 is the Godlike Puns versus the Mini Sons of Anarchy, and this match should be the bane of Malt's existence. For what happens when you pair a Bashy team that has no armor with a Bashy team that does? Well, you don't need me to answer that. But with the Norse's Yeti back on the field, he may very well be the one chosen to put JT down 6 feet under. We are almost at the final hurdle of the season, with only 6 more matches left to go before the playoffs begin, and I am eager to see what awaits us for the weeks to come. Thank you for tuning in, and have a good night.